Alright, welcome back to the 21 Boom Meditation Series. I am your guide, Coach Zach Feeney. And as you get comfortable, you might keep your eyes open for the beginning of this session and take a few deep breaths. Just let yourself settle into the feeling of resting in space. And as you gaze in front of you, just let your gaze be as wide as possible. No need to focus on anything in particular. Just stare into space with soft eyes, feeling the breath come and go. Listen to the sounds in the room, arising and passing away. And as you stare into your visual field, take a moment to look for what is looking. See if you can look back with your attention at the one who is seeing. And this may sound paradoxical, but see what happens the moment you look. There was a teacher named Douglas Harding who wrote a book titled On Having No Head, and the exercise he recommended to his students was to gaze at whatever is before you and look for your own head. Notice that your head is not one of the things you see. What is it like to see the world and simultaneously notice that your head is not appearing in it? See if that does anything to your sense of awareness. Harding used to say that where his head was supposed to be, there was just the world. See if you can be mindful of that in each moment. And now gently close your eyes and pay attention to this feeling that you might have that you're now inside your head. That your attention is in something. But again, what you're calling your head, the sensations you get from your skin, the muscles in your face, all of that is appearing in consciousness. That which is aware is not inside of something. Everything is in it. See if you can feel that. Open your eyes again and ask yourself, what has changed? Is there a sense that the world comes rushing in? That the space just got bigger? You might play with this, opening and closing your eyes periodically. Is there really a change? There's a change in the contents of consciousness, clearly. There are things you can see with your eyes open that you can't with your eyes closed, but you still have a visual field in both cases. When you close your eyes, your visual field doesn't disappear. All that is changing are the contents of consciousness. and more as we proceed in this practice, we're going to be looking to see if the feeling that consciousness has a center, that there is a meditator in the middle of each moment of meditation, a thinker of thoughts, a seer of sights, a hearer of sounds. We will be looking into that feeling that awareness emanates from a single point inside the head. And in some ways, this is easier to do with eyes open because we use vision to define ourselves in opposition to our environment, more than we do with the other senses. There's a clear feeling that most of us have, most of the time, that we are behind our face looking out at the world through our eyes. But as you look out at the world in this moment, see if that feeling is true. You might look to see if there's any evidence that you are behind your face at this moment. In the moment you notice you're lost in thought, come back to this exercise, keeping attention very wide with our eyes open or closed at this point, and seeing if this feeling of being inside the head survives scrutiny. In the last minute of this session, just give up all efforts and notice whatever appears on its own. Well, today I introduced a slightly different exercise, and there will be some more of that coming from time to time. It is good to use this growing facility with mindfulness to engage a kind of structured analysis of experience. You can definitely participate or precipitate certain insights by doing something a little more directed than just noticing whatever happens to arise. And if you're interested, you might get that book I mentioned on Having No Head by Douglas Harding, because he, in a way, that was quite unique to him, developed analogies and exercises that can provoke an insight into the illusoriness of subject-object perception. It's not to say that consciousness is not arising in the brain, It's not that making any claims of your mind being coterminous with the rest of the inside physical world. What Harding was doing was showing that the sense of being inside the head from the side of experience changes when you actually look to see if it's true. And as you play with that exercise, you might find that a very expansive and sensorless sense of what awareness is can emerge in place of this feeling that you would otherwise call I. And we'll look into that more next week when I see you back here. I've spoken a lot about the illusion of the self, and however, as I made clear in a previous lesson, it's not that every notion of the self is illusory. What you discover in meditation is that you're not a thing, you're a process. We experience states of self, and how we feel as ourselves seems to vary remarkably depending on the context. I remember that when let's say you're going home for the holidays and spending extended time with your family. And now your family will tend to see you as a continuous with who you've always been for them. So there's often a special dynamic there. No matter how much you've changed, your family will find a way to fit you to the pattern of who you used to be. And then, as if by magic, you might begin to feel rather like who you used to be. There is no question that mindfulness can help free you in social situations like this, but you don't want it to become a source of greater self-consciousness. When you're with others, your meditation practice shouldn't make you more aware of yourself. It's not a mode of inwardness that causes you to recoil even further from relationships. Ideally, mindfulness should free you to pay more attention to whoever you're talking to. And if you've broken through to the kind of mindfulness which is synonymous with losing your sense of self, with the feeling of headlessness, to use Douglas Harding's analogy, then social situations become occasions where this change can be appreciated most vividly. When someone is looking at you, what are they looking at in your experience? You're not a thing being looked at. You are the condition in which they and the world are appearing. Again, I'm not speaking metaphysically. I'm describing the actual character of conscious experience. You don't see your face. The only face you see belongs to the other person. If you follow that person's gaze back to where you think you are, you might suddenly experience that consciousness is just the space in which everything is appearing. If you look for yourself in that moment, you might find that only the world remains. But whatever the character of your mindfulness at this point, its role isn't to prevent negative states of mind from ever arising. You should go into these situations absolutely knowing that you'll feel negative states of mind. Self-judgment, self-doubt, annoyance, anxiety. Go in like you're playing a video game. You absolutely know that certain challenges are going to appear at this level of the game, and this is the level of negative emotions. So simply feel them and let them go. Don't act on them. Don't inscribe them in your life by saying something totally counterproductive. Let these states of mind wash over you. If that's too hard, just let one of them wash over you. In your next social situation, just become interested in noticing one negative emotion, not doing anything with it. Just let it arise and pass away. But if things get bad, it's helpful to remember that the people you're dealing with are suffering. Almost everyone you meet is practically drowning in self-concern. Just look at them, listen to them. They're broadcasting their own self-doubt and anxiety and disappointments. They're worried about what others think of them. If you get out of yourself for a moment, if you can just take a step back from being implicated in what's happening around you, you will generally see that you are surrounded by a carnival of human frailty. So compassion is available. We're all on the Titanic together. This might sound depressing, but the flip side is also true. This brief life together is a beautiful miracle. This is the only circumstance that exists to be enjoyed. Whatever is true out of the cosmos, this is it for us. And wherever you are, whatever circumstance you find yourself in, however strained the conversation, this is the only life you have in this moment, and you might as well enjoy it. At a minimum, you can become interested in your changes of state. Why is it that you feel so comfortable with one person and so awkward with another? How is it that other people have that much power over your mind? These changes are fascinating, and of course, none of these changes are who you really are. There is no one who you really are. There's a flow of experiences. There are patterns, of course, and you can surely predict how you're likely to feel with certain people. But you're only tending to conform to these patterns. You are not condemned to be the same person you were the last time around. And whatever happens, when you leave a social situation, mindfulness allows you to not have to carry it around with you. You don't have to keep finishing whatever argument you had with your sister in your head. You can let thoughts go. The time to talk to your sister was when she was standing in front of you. The moment you leave, you're now talking to yourself. And if you find yourself doing that, which you will, you should confront this paradox of self-talk. You know how that conversation went with your sister. You were there, so who are you telling now? So that's it. I will see everybody back here next week. Thank you for joining me here. And come on back next week for the 21 Boom meditation series.